I will be here waiting for you. I have a special party announcement. Okay?
What else can I get for you?
Can you give me a massage, please?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he's a gay guy who's in the closet.
Thank you.
I'm not jumping to tell myself, once everybody gets out, just
Hey, V.
Coming to town, coming home to town. Yeah, take that.
I thought we were done talking about Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck since they filed for divorce, but it seems like this has just gotten messier as they were just spotted kissing. Yes, kissing. Now, what's going on with this couple? Can they just make up their minds? Here's what we know. On the weekend, the couple were spotted going out to brunch at Beverly Hills Hotel with their children. Now, this has been the first time we've seen them spotted together since J.Lo filed for divorce. A source said they all came together for a fun lunch so the kids could hang out. Jennifer's trying to be friendly with Ben. They're still moving forward with the divorce though. They are working out financial details amicably. The source added, "A divorce is never easy, but Jennifer doesn't want to be selfish about it. The kids always got along and have fun together. It makes her happy seeing the kids happy together. Happy kids are her priority." But is that really what's going on? Because another source dropped a bombshell about the former couple. A source exclusively told Page 6 Ben and J.Lo are currently at the Polo Lounge at the Beverly Hills Hotel, holding hands and kissing. The kids are with them but at a separate table. So what does this mean? Is Bennifer not really over? I don't know, but I'm just confused and I wish they would just make a decision. Now that's not all though, because J.Lo was seen wearing her engagement ring on her pinky finger and a Jennifer ring on her wedding finger. What does this mean? I need to know. Now on Tuesday, August 20th, J.Lo filed for divorce at County Superior Court in LA. The official separation date is listed as April 26th, and the pair married in Las Vegas in July 2022 after re-sparking their relationship from 2 decades prior. Now J.Lo waived spousal support and asked the judge to deny Ben support when she filed for divorce. According to the documents obtained by Us Weekly, J.Lo filed pro per, meaning by herself without an attorney, and she listed their date of separation as April 26, 2024. Now this couple took 2 different approaches when it came out that they filed for divorce. J.Lo posted an end of summer photo dump on Instagram and captioned the post, "Oh, it was a summer." And yes, it definitely was for her. Among the photos, which included a snap of the singer posing with her sister Linda Lopez, was a quote that read, "Everything is unfolding in divine order," and another photo showed J.Lo wearing a shirt that reads, "She's in bloom and unbothered, out of reach and at peace." Yeah, this seems like a dig at Ben. Now what has Ben done though? He's been spotted with Kik Kennedy, who is JFK's grandniece. Sources say she was seen with Ben at the Polo Lounge in Beverly Hills Hotel and other trendy spots. Now as for how Ben and Kik know each other or if they're more than friends, it remains unclear. Now it seemed like the couple had moved on and they were just playing nice in front of their kids, but now that they've been seen kissing, what does this mean? Are they going to stop the divorce? Are they getting back together? Or was it simply a mistake? I don't know, but it just makes everything more complicated. You see, according to People magazine, there was no prenuptial agreement between the two, which can cause even more problems. Someone who knows the couples suggested that Jennifer spent more money during their relationship. The insider alleges J.Lo took on the majority of the financial responsibility. They depicted Ben as a huge cheapskate who constantly complained about Jen's spending habits. But I mean, Jen's net worth is more than double than Ben's, so I think she should be allowed to splurge. Now, to avoid him complaining about the prices of things, J.Lo would actually just pay for a lot of stuff herself. One of the little known secrets is that Jennifer paid for much of their marital expenses, and now she feels he owes her, a source claimed. She's adding up all those private jet bills she put on her plastic, the hotels and meals, clothes, coffee runs, gas. The high cost of living was done on her dime. Now it's said that she might take some money from Ben to repay herself from the expenses in this marriage. And the thing is, she can because there was no prenup. OK Magazine said that when the pair wedded in Las Vegas, they didn't tie up their assets. According to a source, Jen's love for Ben was so unconditional at the time that she didn't see a prenup as necessary. But yes, this might be one of Jen's biggest mistakes. Now, one thing they're still dealing with is their house. In June, multiple sources with direct knowledge told TMZ that J-Lo and Ben were using realtor Santiago Arana from the agency to sell the home they bought a little over a year ago. Now, they bought the enormous Beverly Hills mansion for just over $60 million. They were on the hunt for a home for nearly 2 years, looking at more than 80 properties before settling on the mansion. Now, the couple who purchased the 12-bedroom, 24-bathroom home for $60,850,000 in May 2023 initially attempted to sell the property off-market, but clearly that didn't work out. Now, this was back in June when it was listed privately. It's listed publicly now, and it still hasn't been sold. They thought they could sell it off-market, but made a game-time decision in order to put more eyes on the property. They are in a rush to sell it. Ben especially wants to be done with the house. He was never happy there. Now, the insider added that Ben and Jen never felt settled in the incredibly huge house. They rarely have all the kids there at once, so it felt huge for two of them, the source told us. Now, it has had plenty of showings since it was listed publicly in July, but no serious offers or deals are in place. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens, but Ben since bought a new $20.5 million Brentwood mansion, while J-Lo has still been on the hunt, sources have said. Now, it was suspected that the couple was going through a rough patch earlier this year, as they hadn't been spotted together for over a month, and when they were together, things were just straight up awkward. At the beginning of May, Jen attended the Met Gala all by herself, which was shocking because she was a co-chair for the gala, but Ben was missing from the event. Ben had been filming The Accountant 2, and it said that he skipped the event because of his schedule, but the night before, he was spotted at Tom Brady's roast in LA, which raised some eyebrows. Now, this came after Jen's new album, movie, and documentary came out. Now, this brought up old feelings about why the two called off their first engagement. Now, one of the biggest reasons for their breakup in the early 2000s was the media attention. And it seems like the same thing has happened again, except with Jen actively participating in it, as Ben likes his privacy while Jen likes the attention. We saw how uncomfortable this made Ben in Jen's documentary, The Greatest Love Story Never Told. When Ben pops up in the documentary, it's often to express concern that his private love story is becoming used for something he didn't particularly want. Now, the doc is actually named after a scrapbook that Ben gifted Jennifer for Christmas in 2021 that's stacked with every letter and email they'd written each other over the last 20 years. Now, Jennifer showed this book to her producers and songwriters on the first day of making her new album without asking or telling Ben. It became like our Bible, she says in the doc. Now, this revelation comes within the first 5 minutes of the doc, and right out of the gate, Ben isn't shy about his discomfort. He's shocked that Jennifer would share something so personal. Now, I'm sure that this was another reason why Ben wanted to separate from J-Lo. They just see things and approach fame differently, as Ben had said in the doc that when Jen and I broke up before, the catalyst for that was this massive amount of scrutiny around our private life. I had a very firm sense of boundaries around the press, while Jen, I don't think, objected to it the way I did. But now the couple might be back together. I mean, was the whole divorce thing just fake? I don't know, and I think there are going to be even more stories coming out about this couple.
First up, we have Conor McGregor and Machine Gun Kelly. It's difficult to tell exactly what happened between mixed martial artist / UFC fighter Conor McGregor and rapper Machine Gun Kelly just before the MTV VMAs in 2021, but one video of the incident, which already had 1.5 million views by the next morning, showed a man in a suit on the red carpet holding back Conor McGregor, who then approached a large group of people, including Kelly and his then girlfriend, actress Megan Fox. All of a sudden, a large gasp went up from the crowd, and several handlers grabbed Kelly and pulled him away. People started yelling, "Run, run, run," and "Where's Megan?" The couple was surrounded by security as they were swiftly led away from the group. "Go this way, get her out this way," one woman commanded, steering the clearly distressed actress into a less crowded corner of the carpet. Photos and video immediately started circulating on social media. Wow. What happened? Asked Entertainment Tonight correspondent Rachel Smith when she saw McGregor. Absolutely nothing, McGregor said. I don't even know the guy, to be honest with you. Nothing happened with me. I only fight real fighters, people that actually fight. You know what I mean? I certainly don't fight little vanilla boy rappers. I don't even know the guy. I don't know anything about him except that he's with Megan Fox. Interesting. Our next red carpet feud involves J-Lo and Ben Affleck. The couple is known to be quite feisty with one another, and that remained true during the red carpet for J-Lo's movie premiere, Mother. After the premiere, photos of Affleck and Lopez fighting and what looked like yelling at each other circulated quickly online, and fans kept wondering, what are they saying to each other? Well, a lip reader has revealed what Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez have said, and honestly, it's pretty funny. A lip reader told the Daily Mail the couple, who appeared frustrated and irritated at times, were merely debating poses and positioning for the red carpet. The expert said that during the now viral exchange, Lopez appeared to ask Affleck whether her low-cut top was showing too much, prompting him to respond, quote, "It's fine." After finding their joint pose, Affleck appeared to tell his wife to come closer to him before leaning into her ear saying, "Don't worry, babe." Our next red carpet feud involves Ariana Grande and the red carpet photographers. At the 2016 Billboard Music Awards, things got pretty heated. While Ariana was walking the red carpet, numerous photographers were shouting at Ariana in order to get her to look into their camera lens. Ariana looked absolutely beautiful, but the constant shouting of "look over here" must have put her in a bad mood. After one photographer yelled, "Ariana, you aren't looking," she yelled back with, "Yeah, and what about it?" She then did a hair flip and strutted to another side of the carpet. Our next red carpet disaster involves Aubrey Plaza and Michael Cera. You know Aubrey from shows like Parks and Recreation and White Lotus, and Michael from movies like Molly's Game, Barbie, Superbad, and Juno. The two stars had a viral red carpet spat during the 2010 premiere of their movie Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. While Aubrey was being interviewed on the carpet, a reporter asked, "So, do you hate Michael Cera as much as your character does?" Aubrey responded with, "If you thought the character was believable, that's because the hatred comes from a very real place." Does that answer your question? Also, let me just say that in most of the scenes I had to curse Michael Cera out, and I had a lot of fun doing it, she says. Soon after, Michael Cera comes up to Aubrey, aggressively grabbing her mic that she was holding. Aubrey responds to him by saying, "Seriously, like, don't do that." The interviewer chimes in by saying, "Wow, there is so much romantic tension here, it is obvious." Aubrey responds by saying, "I have no clue what you're talking about." The hilarious exchange went viral on YouTube, with some commenters saying there are so many levels of irony and sarcasm in this exchange that, quote, "I don't even know what's real anymore." Our next red carpet feud involves Kim K and a random stranger who sabotaged her event. Kardashian was celebrating the launch of her new perfume True Reflection at an event to benefit the charity Dress for Success. As video from E! News shows, a woman walked up to Kim Kardashian, yelled what sounded like "lousy fur hag," and flower bombed the reality star, throwing a bunch of flour at her forehead, covering her entire body. The alleged powder thrower was detained by hotel security, according to the LA Times, but was later released after Kardashian declined to press charges. Kardashian dusted herself off and returned to the event. Our next red carpet disaster involves a Will Smith slap. So, if you thought I was going to be talking about the infamous Oscar slap from a couple years ago, you are wrong. Because the first time Will Smith gave someone a piece of his mind was a decade before that. It was the year 2012, and the actor was at the movie premiere for his new film, Men in Black 3, when he encountered the insufferable Vitaly Siduk. You know him? Vitaly Siduk is the man whose main mission in life is to wreak havoc among any celebrity he can get his hands on. Will Smith was not his first, nor was he his last. Anyways, at the event, Vitaly seemed to be interviewing Will, and as they finished, he asked for a hug, which Will agreed to because why not? And then Vitaly goes in for a kiss, which was something Will did not agree to. And it'd be easy to feel sorry for the guy until you find out that this man is notorious for his odd behavior, provoking celebrities. The man probably did not expect to get slapped by Will, but he definitely asked for it. Next up, we have Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise did not appreciate being pranked while in the middle of an interview, and he made sure that they knew that loud and clear. During the premiere for his movie War of the Worlds, he thought he was being interviewed by some regular reporter before he was instantly squirted by a water gun mid-sentence. The actor did not hesitate to confront the man, who seemed taken off guard and unsure of how to respond to him. After he asked him why he would do that. Even when the man tries to remove himself from the situation, Tom refuses to let him, even calling him rude and a jerk. Later, we found out that the guy was working with 3 other men, and they all worked under a British network for their show that specializes in pranking celebrities. The joke was on them because the 4 of them were eventually detained by police shortly after, and their company wrote out an apology to Tom Cruise for the incident. This next moment is less of a feud, but more of a really awkward celeb interaction, and it involves Kesha and Jerry Seinfeld. At some red carpet event several years ago, Kesha found herself on the carpet at the same time as Jerry Seinfeld, whom she is a very big fan of. The actor was in the middle of an interview on his own when Kesha intervened. This video was awkward enough on its own, but at least she asked for consent. Kesha asked Jerry for a hug, but Jerry said, no, absolutely not. He later shared that he didn't intend to be rude, he just felt taken aback because she was sprung out of nowhere and he truly didn't know who Kesha was. I just think that this could be a learning lesson for us all. Should Kesha have kept pushing for a hug even after he said no? Probably not. Could Jerry have declined in a nicer way? Yeah, probably. But still, viewers remain divided on this, so whose side are you on? Another awkward red carpet moment involves Tiffany Haddish. When Entertainment Tonight reporter Lorna Zima asked Tiffany about her quote costume change at the 2022 Vanity Fair Oscars after party, the comedian was quick to put the reporter in her place. "I'm not wearing a costume, I'm wearing Dolce & Gabbana," the actress replied. "It's called an evening gown, darling. No one's paying me for this, I paid for it. It's custom." Zima tried to ease the tension with a joke, laughing about her quote time of death, but Haddish wasn't finished. "This is not an acting gig, this is my life. This is what fame looks like. This is what success looks like. This is what money looks like." Haddish went on to praise her friend Will Smith for slapping Oscars host Chris Rock earlier that evening, after Rock publicly mocked Smith's wife and actor Jada Pinkett Smith. Last but not least, we have Jim Carrey versus a red carpet reporter. Now, Jim has been in the public eye for decades for hit movies like Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, and The Truman Show, but perhaps he will be best known for this very interesting red carpet interaction. It's clear that Jim Carrey wasn't thrilled about attending the Harper's Bazaar Icons party in 2017. What's not clear is why he showed up in the first place. There's no meaning to any of this, he told former E! reporter Kat Sandler when asked about his attendance. "I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to tonight, and here I am." The interviewer pressed him about the meaning, or lack thereof, of the word icon, among other topics, but Carrey only continued on an existential rant about the meaning of life. His top what the heck remarks include, "I believe we're a field of energy dancing through itself," and quote,
10. Jussie Smollett. In January of 2019, famous actor Jussie Smollett walked into a Chicago police precinct and reported that he had just been the victim of a hate crime. He told the police that 2 strangers began shouting racial slurs. While one was just yelling at him, the other was pouring chemical bleach onto him before they both held him down and tied a rope to his neck. He claimed to have suffered severe rope burn and was physically ill from the experience. But as we all know now, this isn't exactly what happened. These so-called strangers were actually 2 brothers who worked with Jussie on the set of the hit series Empire, and according to inside sources, Jussie paid the brothers $3,500 each to help him stage the event, planning every single detail right down to the precinct visit. The proof that all of this was a rouse made up for publicity was the fact that the altercation conveniently took place directly in front of security cameras. An investigation took place that found ample evidence that Smollett had set himself up. They found receipts for the ropes used during the altercation left in the assailant's home and a way to hide the evidence. There was also security footage taken from a store where the brothers can be seen trying on and purchasing ski masks, gloves, and red hats. I would pay anything to see that footage. It would be so funny now. At the end of the day, Jussie was forced to serve 150 days in prison and pay the Chicago Police Department over $300,000 for wasting their time and resources. So before you all get mad about how I pronounce his name, I just want to remind you he faked a hate crime. Focus on that. 9. Kim Kardashian. The reality star can be tight-lipped about the cosmetic procedures she's undergone and has repeatedly denied plastic surgery rumors, but on a forthcoming episode of The Kardashians, she seems to make a surprising confession. In a peek at season 3 shared by her sister Khloe Kardashian on Snapchat, Kim is seen taking voice lessons. While talking to her vocal coach, the Skims founder admitted she couldn't use her neck muscles to sing because half of hers were probably Botoxed. Kim admitted to having a little bit of Botox in a 2012 Allure interview, but claims she's had no filler. She stated, "I've never filled my lips." While this may be true, back in 2010, Kardashian suffered facial bruises after getting Botox before she turned 30, an experience that was documented on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Kim claims that the surgeon warned her of all the possible side effects, as they should, but because it was the first time receiving the procedure, she flipped out in front of the cameras. Since then, Kim has steered clear of any more Botox-related procedures, claiming she felt a constant burning sensation for days afterwards, being some of the most painful moments of her life. 8. Ariana Grande. Now it should be no surprise to learn that Ariana Grande is not 100% a clean, clear cover girl. The Sam and Cat star and world famous musician dropped some truth during her Vogue Beauty Secrets tutorial last week. Grande shared with the world that she has had a ton of Botox and lip fillers over the years, but that she was ready to go back to the way she was. For a long time, she was getting regular injections and surgeries, but according to Ariana herself, she stopped seeking those treatments in 2018. She claimed that she felt like she was hiding herself from the world and was tired of being hidden behind a fake layer of herself. She went on to say that the decision to stop was also motivated by her wishing to see her natural features again, like her smile lines. Now she said she may get a facelift 10 years or so down the road, but compared to the invasiveness of Botox, that should be a chill Tuesday for Ariana. 7. Kanye West. In 2009, Kanye interrupted Swift during MTV's Music Video Awards as she was in the middle of an acceptance speech for Best Female Music Video. While the altercation didn't take place on camera over the next few months, the feud had become public, with Swift bashing Kanye's rude behavior during time specifically set aside for her. Kanye later apologized and things seemed to be fine until 2015, when the rapper released a song called Famous, in which he had some pretty harsh stuff in reference to Miss Swift. Taylor was very vocal about her dislike for the song and claimed that it was written to undermine her success. Kanye's then wife Kim Kardashian called Taylor out online, claiming that Taylor had approved her lyrics over the phone. Kim uploaded a Snapchat video that alleged Taylor did in fact say that Kanye can do whatever he wanted. The video included clips of Taylor that fans pointed out were edited to take her words out of context. In retaliation to this situation, many fans have claimed that several songs from her 2017 album Reputation were made in reference to Kimye, including the line, "This is why we can't have nice things." In 2020, a full version of the video Kim posted was released, proving that she did in fact edit the footage to make it seem like Taylor was on their team. In reality, Taylor never approved jack squat. Who would have guessed that Kim Kardashian and Kanye West were big liars? 6. Belle Gibson. Belle Gibson was a famous Australian influencer who was diagnosed with a brain tumor when she was 20 years old. According to Belle, she ditched the traditional chemotherapy route and instead decided to undergo alternative treatments like oxygen therapy that somehow worked, or so her thousands of followers thought. In 2013, Belle used her story to launch a health and wellness app called The Whole Pantry. She made a public vow to donate 1/3 of her profits to charity, was able to secure a cookbook contract with acclaimed publishing company Penguin, and Apple pre-installed her iPhone app on all Apple Watches. Kinda like when U2's new album just suddenly opened on your iTunes, like, I don't remember buying this. What the heck did I do last night? Not long after her rise to fame though, she claimed that the cancer had re-emerged basically everywhere and lamented about the short time she had left with her family. But as it usually does, the truth set her free. According to media outlet Who, the app's proceeds never made it to the charity, and former friends of the blogger voiced their suspicions to the point that 2 journalists from the Sydney Morning Herald took on the case, like detectives in a movie from the 30s, like, "Don't worry, sweetheart, we'll solve the case. After a fairly minimal amount of sleuth work, Gibson was forced to reveal that she had in fact faked her diagnosis for media coverage. The aftermath involved a civil suit being launched against Bell by Consumer Affairs Victoria, and a judge ruled that she may be suffering from psychological or psychiatric delusions at the time, but was in fact found guilty of misleading and deceptive conduct. That's a thing you can sue people for? I gotta make some phone calls. 5. Kylie Jenner. For years and years and years, Kylie, along with everyone else in her family, has denied the involvement of cosmetic surgery on camera. Throughout the history of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, there have been an immeasurable number of clips that will go down in the history books. Seriously, somebody should give this lady an Oscar. After a long time of not telling the truth, the internet called her bluff. Now, I've been told we can't talk about the challenge that happened a few years ago because people were actually getting hurt attempting to recreate Kylie's perfect plump lips with little no juice glasses, a painful lesson that Kylie did not intend to teach. Well, Kylie decided to let the cat out of the bag and inform her fans that she did in fact receive fillers to achieve her look. She then urged people to stop doing the challenge as it could not only leave permanent damage, but it also just made her look bad. Revealing the truth is one thing, revealing the truth because you might be in trouble, a whole other story. 4. Lori Loughlin. Who could forget the college scandal from 2019? Oh wait, you did? Well, allow me to refresh your memory. In 2019, a massive conspiracy was proven to be true when several A-list celebrities were exposed for bribing schools and their admissions to allow their kids into school. The situation had been going on for almost 10 years before justice was served. Lori, along with several celebrities like Felicity Huffman, were exposed to the media and a very public trial began. For years, these people were claiming that their kids were the best and the brightest and that they could do no wrong, when in reality, they were just scrolling on their phones waiting for mommy to drop a check off at Harvard. Over 40 individuals were eventually charged and brought to justice. High-level academic and athletic schools like Stanford University, Yale, and the University of Texas. It was revealed specifically how much the schools were making, while in Lori's case, anyone who agreed to admit their two daughters would receive $500,000 in one lump sum. Several students were either expelled or removed from the admissions list as a way to save face. For Lori, well, she went to prison for a few days and was made to do 250 hours of community service. Lesson learned. 3. Steven Rannazzisi. You may recognize Steve from his role as Kevin MacArthur in the hit FX series The League, or perhaps from his many stand-up and television specials. What you may not know is that Steve's a big old liar. Steve first moved to the west coast of the United States only 1 month following the events in New York in September 2001. When he first tried to break into the comedy scene, he claims that he found it difficult to fit in with his fellow comics and would indulge in stories to get a word in conversationally. Essentially, when he introduced himself and told people he was from New York, at the time the events were fresh and everyone was curious, were you there when it happened? Much like a lot of comedians, he started telling them sarcastically that he did in fact escape one of the towers before they fell, but before he could say, nah, just kidding, that never happened, the conversation had moved on and he was now seen as a survivor. Needless to say, his story made its way through the scene and his career seemed to be on a rise. It was only a few short years later that he would be a main cast member on The League and would go on to write and star in several TV shows and films. In 2009, Steve told Mark Maron his tall tale, even adding details like, yeah, I worked on the 59th floor, second tower. Man, it was tough getting out of that one. I actually broke a few bones in my hand and took weeks to heal. Not long after the public exchange, the New York Times did a little detective work and discovered that he had actually worked in Midtown Manhattan at the time, nowhere near the incident. He's apologized for the lies and realizes now that people probably would have liked him just fine without the lies. Whoa, lying to make people like you is wrong? Blows my mind. 2. Lance Armstrong. 7-time Tour de France winner Lance Armstrong has gone down in history as a man who was unable to ride a bike without chemical training wheels. In an interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2013, Lance was brought on to discuss the allegations floating around regarding his status as a Tour de France winner. Several sources claim that Lance had to take performance-enhancing substances to win each race, as well as a type of transfusion involving the red life juice that live inside all of us. Armstrong went on air and fessed up to every single thing they were claiming he had done. However, he did deny the notion that he was some kind of mastermind who would control his teammates and force them to join in his extracurricular activities. But amidst his admission of guilt, say that 10 times fast, there was a moment where he tried to pin the situation on his battle with cancer. He wraps it up by saying he should have tried harder to cancel the culture rather than create more of a problem. He was stripped of all 7 Tour de France titles and has since lived in exile among the cycling world. 1. Milli Vanilli. Taking the top spot on our list is the infamous musical duo Milli Vanilli. In 1989, the duo of Fab Morvan and Rob Pilatus were on the top of the world. A fairly unknown crew had quickly raised to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 list. They began performing their hit song in front of thousands of fans across the world, and they were hooked. Until very shortly into their rise to fame, they were performing in front of 80,000 people at a theme park in Bristol, Connecticut. They took the stage with their well-known dance moves and started singing, but when the chorus came, it stayed, repeating over and over again on a loop. The track they had been lip-syncing to was trash, and the truth was revealed. Not only did they not sing a single note of their hit song, Girl You Know It's True, but the song itself was actually stolen from another group a few years prior. Milli Vanilli were a disgrace, and what was worse is that only a few days before, they were exposed to the world that they had won an award for the tune and were forced to return them.
In at number 10, Jennifer Lopez. There have been a lot of celebrities that have lied to the public about their age, but this one was a weird one. For the longest time, Jennifer Lopez had the public believing that she was born in 1970. However, in 1999, a shooting took place inside of a nightclub where Puff Daddy, Jennifer Lopez, and Shine had been partying. The incident led to a 10-year prison sentence for Diddy's then protege, and one of the victims that evening was Tanya Rubin, who was actually shot in the face. Diddy, who was acquitted of all charges related to the case, settled with 3 victims of the 1999 club shooting. According to those reports, Rubin was paid $1.8 million, and yes, she survived that shot. When the police arrived though, they had to identify everyone involved with the incident, which led to Jennifer being caught in a lie about her age. In reality, she was born in 1969, but for whatever reason, she felt like knocking off that extra year made her feel younger. In at number 9, Milli Vanilli. For those of you who are too young to remember, Milli Vanilli was a German R&B duo from Munich that took over the charts with their hit song Girl You Know It's True. However, one live performance in Bristol, Connecticut is what brought their whole career to an end. The band had the song on a pre-recorded track, but midway through the track got stuck. Imagine getting exposed like that in front of 80,000 people. This incident though unraveled a whole bunch of other lies. The band eventually had to tell the public that they've never even sung any of their own songs. Rob, who was one half of the duo, was so distraught with what happened that he quit the group shortly after. In at number 8, Miley Cyrus. Back in 2018, Miley Cyrus was fighting to have a videotape of her deposition sealed by a judge. According to The Blast, Cyrus was caught up in a legal battle regarding her sister's dog Feather. Cyrus's sister Brandy lived in an apartment complex that was paid for by her older sister. In 2014, Feather bit one of her neighbors, and because Miley paid for the apartment, she was forced to sit through a deposition where she answered questions pertaining to the dog. She claimed that she didn't know the dog, which is a hilarious statement to say in a courtroom. However, after the neighbor did some digging, she found a video of Miley and Feather together from years back. She brought the evidence to court and used it to prove that Miley's testimony was a full-on lie. Once Miley learned of the video's existence, she went to court to file an amended declaration claiming that she did know Feather after all. Now Miley is asking for that judge to seal the videotape of the deposition. Her argument is that she is one of the most famous celebrities in the world and is the subject of media and tabloids speculating concerning even irrelevant minutiae details of her life. That neighbor couldn't care less though and still wanted the video to be released to the public. Although I don't think I've ever seen it. In at number 7, Nick Young. This is just another one of those messy celebrity breakups that had people shaking their heads the entire time. At first it started as a prank when the LA Lakers were recording player D'Angelo Russell and inadvertently included fellow player Nick Young. In the video, Nick apparently admits to cheating on his girlfriend, rapper Iggy Azalea. Young then says it was false, Iggy says okay, and the relationship goes on. However, not too long after that, she actually catches him on the security camera bringing women into the home. To make things even worse, Young was still expecting a baby with his ex-girlfriend, a baby that was definitely conceived while he was cheating on his ex with Iggy. And following the security cam footage, Iggy tweeted out, "I broke up with Nick because I found out he had brought other women into our home while I was away and caught them on the security footage." Then tweeting again saying, "This is just like a second shot to the chest and I feel like I don't even know who the hell it is I've been loving all this time." In at number 6, Kanye West. Kanye West has been doing his Kanye best to get himself into this election for November 3rd. The odds seemed to be very stacked against him, but time after time it looked as though he was finding new ways to prevail and end up on the ballot in most states under the party known as the Birthday Party. That being said, his petition to appear on New Jersey's ballot as a presidential candidate contained more than 600 defective signatures. Many of those signatures had very similar writing, and according to a formal complaint filed with the state on Wednesday, election law attorney Scott Salmon, a registered Democrat, filed the objection with the State Division of Elections after reviewing more than 1,300 signatures that the rapper had submitted. West managed to exceed the requirement of 800 signatures to appear on the ballot as an independent candidate in time for the deadline, but now his whole campaign is up in the air due to him being caught in this lie. In at number 5, Rebel Wilson. Rebel Wilson was outed for lying about her real name and her age. The Pitch Perfect actress had previously stated that she was 29 years old and that her real name was in fact Rebel. But thanks to an Australian tabloid, the world found out that she was actually a 35-year-old named Melanie Elizabeth Bounds. A year before the revelation, Wilson had told the tabloid that her real name was Rebel and that Melanie and Elizabeth were middle names she used in school to avoid getting teased. The tabloid uncovered official Australian documents that not only showed that to be untrue, but also proved that she was born on March 2nd, 1980, a full 6 years earlier than she had claimed. 2 birds, 1 stone on that line. In at number 4, Angelina Jolie. Born in Los Angeles, California, Angelina is the daughter of actors Jon Voight and Marsha Lynn Bertrand. She is also the niece of Chip Taylor and sister of James Haven. On her father's side, Jolie is Czechoslovakian and German descent, and on her mother's side, she is French-Canadian and is said to be part Iroquois. Angelina has proudly said that she is part native, but according to her father, it's not true. According to John, his wife's claims of being part Iroquois were simply said to enhance her exotic background. After 1993, Bertrand turned her attention towards producing, and she was the executive producer of a documentary called Trudell about Native American activist John Trudell. It was shown at the Sundance Film Festival in 2005, and whatever her ancestry, Bertrand took an interest in Native causes and shared her activism with Angelina. Since then, Jolie has taken up causes such as refugee and immigrant children, although she is more than likely not Native American. You can care about it, but don't claim to be one. In at number 3, Bill Clinton. 22 years ago, the U.S. House of Representatives voted to impeach President Bill Clinton for giving a false testimony about having an inappropriate relationship with White House intern Monica Lewinsky. The potential scandal of 1998 saw the 42nd U.S. president give false statements under oath with a notorious one-liner leaving a big mark. The infamous words were broadcast during a press conference on January 26, 1998. In the summer, the president then admitted that he had been involved with Ms. Lewinsky, deeming the relationship not appropriate and a critical lapse in judgment. Mr. Clinton was later charged with 2 articles of impeachment, one for perjury for lying under oath to a federal judge, and the other for obstruction of justice. Impeachment proceedings then began in early 1999, concluding with Mr. Clinton being acquitted of both charges. Ah, democracy. Oh, and he wrote on Jeffrey Epstein's plane 26 times. Don't forget that. In at number 2, Lance Armstrong. In 2012, champion cyclist Lance Armstrong denied that he ever relied on performance-enhancing drugs. He referred to these doping allegations against him as outlandish and heinous. However, when the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency released compelling evidence, the cyclist House of Lies finally crumbled. The agency released about 1,000 pages of evidence and doping allegations against Armstrong and his teammates. This led to him being stripped of his 7 Tour de France titles and bronze Olympic medal. Plus, his lie forced him to step down as chairman of the Livestrong Foundation. Armstrong would later give a detailed account of his doping to Oprah Winfrey in 2013. Last but certainly not least, on our number 1 spot, Amber Heard. Amber Heard willfully lied to U.S. immigration by telling them that her British personal assistant was just a friend and was not working unlawfully. Her former aide, Kate James, who was fired by the actress in February of 2015, has now alleged in a high court battle that Miss Heard deliberately smuggled her dogs into Australia, which then led to her being caught breaching quarantine rules and overall thinking that she was just above the law. The The claims were made in a witness statement by Ms. James, which was submitted to the High Court as part of Johnny Depp's libel action against the Sun newspaper.
Number 10, Mike Tyson. So I had trouble landing on just one interview to mention when it comes to this man. He is someone who seems to just bounce back after every single heinous thing he's done. So we're going to run through a few of them. The first time Mike really hurt his career was in the 80s, and it wasn't even something he said. He was doing an interview with his then girlfriend Robin Gibbs. When the topic of Mike's behavior came up, she said herself that Mike had an extremely volatile temper. Recent reports had also surfaced of Mike getting loud and physical with Robin, something she seemingly confirmed, while Mike just stared at the interviewer the entire time, giving him an evil look. Now that was one of the first little notches on his belt. That wasn't really a meltdown. As the years went by, more and more controversies came to light, and during a press tour for his latest bout in the early 2000s, he lashed out at a fan in the crowd, hurling a slew of insults and calling them the British word for cancer sticks. It starts with an F and it rhymes with maggot. The clip became viral overnight and placed his career in jeopardy, but he finally drove that nail into the coffin on CP24's Breakfast Television in 2014. After somehow maintaining enough relevance to get a one-man show, Mike was sitting down with host Nathan Downer to promote when the interview took a hard left and went from "so what's the show about" to "so should you even be allowed on stage, you monster?" That's not what he actually said, but apparently that's what Mike Tyson heard, because he stopped answering questions and would instead hurl sarcastic insults. The F word is once again his favorite, and just throws it at him. I don't know if you've noticed, but Mike hasn't been on the news much since then, and probably for a good reason. Number 9, Paula Abdul. Q13 Fox News. In 2012, famous judge and British bad boy Simon Cowell decided to fire his fellow X Factor judge after she went on Fox News and made herself sound like a little bit of a fool. During an interview with Q13, things started out a little rocky thanks to some audio issues causing Paula to hear a station in Texas instead of their own. When they eventually got everything up and running, Paula was just as confusing as she was with the original issues. The interviewers were trying to ask her about her visit to Seattle, where Simon claims that the worst singers that he has ever encountered dwell. Instead of defending the city, Paula doubled down and agreed with Simon. It's not the statement though that landed her in the hot seat, it was actually just the way that she was speaking. Paula had always been a little bit animated in her life, using arms a lot when speaking to people, but she was particularly slurry and seemed like she was under the influence of something. This was just one of several interviews where Paula is noticeably woozy. Simon Cowell has actually claimed the only reason she was invited to host on the X Factor in the first place was to see if she would bring in the American Idol viewers, and when that didn't pan out, he realized the right move to make was to let her go because she's not great on television. Of course, Paula was mad about this and confronted Simon several times, only making that meltdown bigger and bigger. Number 8, Robert Downey Jr. Being a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe means a ton of interviews. Now, Robert had the fortune of playing Iron Man for 10 years, being featured in 11 movies. While doing press for his second round with the Avengers in 2015, he had the misfortune of speaking with a legendarily terrible interviewer, Krishnan Guru Murphy, on Channel 4. Now, I've talked about this guy in other videos for making Quentin Tarantino walk out of an interview, and he is making a return for something pretty similar. The interview is uncomfortable from the very beginning. Krishnan stumbles through his questions as quickly as he can, with Robert doing his best just to keep things smooth. Instead of asking questions about the movie though, Krishnan decided to probe Robert about his life in prison and with substance control issues. Now, at first, he's okay and answers the questions, but then Krishnan brings up his dad and asks if he feels that he escaped his dark past. Robert is visibly anxious and begins breathing pretty heavy to keep himself calm. He asks what they were doing there, and then the team said goodbye. He stood up and walked out of the room, and he said that Krishnan seemed nice, but things were getting just a little bit too Diane Sawyer for his taste. This was one of the most uncomfortable interview moments in Robert's career, and it's not even close to the worst one for Krishnan. Number 7, Sofia Vergara. Fans of the show Modern Family will recognize Sofia as Gloria, aka Manny's mom, who is just absolutely hilarious and heartwarming at the same time, even outside of Modern Family. Now, while speaking with Ellen in 2017 about her career and some new projects coming up, Ellen decided to play a game called English Word of the Day. Claiming to be learning Spanish with one word a day, she wished to teach Sofia one as well. Before the segment, Sofia is roasting Ellen for her dislike of cotton, but when when Ellen asks if she wants to learn the English word with her, Sophia scoffs and is visibly annoyed, claiming that she speaks English very well. Ellen gives her the word flabbergasted and asks her to define what it means. Not only does she pronounce it correctly the first time, but she knew exactly what it meant. Ellen follows it up with discombobulated, which left Sophia confused and thinking pretty hard. Now, she butchered the word, and while she seemed to be taking things in stride, it turns out Sophia was so frustrated with participating in this game, as she is a bit self-conscious when it comes to her accent. A lot of people consider the segment to be a little bit racist and more cringe-inducing than fun. I've seen the clip. That's accurate. Number 6, Joaquin Phoenix. We understand a dedication to your craft, and Joaquin Phoenix is just a prime example. This dude's acting career has been going steady since he first appeared in the 1989 comedy Parenthood when he was in his teens. Now, while he is seen as one of the greatest actors in recent history, his reputation on set was a little tarnished thanks to a freak out while filming the 2018 solo flick Joker. He appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live to promote the shoot when Jimmy plays a behind-the-scenes clip of Joaquin getting loud and angry at a man named Larry, and the constant whispering behind the cameras before dropping a few F-bombs and storming off this set. When the cameras came back to the studio, Joaquin was frozen in shock and clearly not expecting that clip to ever see the light of day. He is not having a good time. He explained that Larry was a cinematographer who teased Joaquin off set earlier in the day, calling him a diva and referring to him as Cher. In fact, if you're watching the clip and during the outbursts, you can actually hear him say, "You want to call me Cher? How is that an insult?" He then explained that there is a lot of pressure on set, especially in a closed space, like the apartment from the scene that they were filming. He apologized to the audience for having to see him behave like that, which, was met with applause. Because at the end of the day, he's a performer and no harm came from the outburst or the meltdown, and honestly, if Larry's cool with it, so are we. Number 5, Nicolas Cage. The most unhinged man in Hollywood history. One of the few people who somehow managed to star in billions of movies, but has barely seen or kept a cent of that money. During a press junket in 1990, Nick went on a talk show called Wogan to discuss his latest project, Wild at Heart. When the host Terry Wogan announced Nick Cage, he entered with karate kicks, a front flip, somersault. He threw wads of cash at the audience because, hey, he's Nick Cage, why not? And when he finally sat down, moments before the interview actually began, he asked if he could take his jacket off. He proceeds to take his jacket off and the shirt underneath of it, because if people thought Nick Cage was all together, they were proven wrong during this interview. Despite the content being relatively tamed, the entire time you can just see sweat glistening off of Nick's chest, because guess what? Wearing a leather jacket on your bare chest is beyond uncomfortable, especially when there are lights aimed at you. Now sure, it might look cool until you take it off and you just have a heat rash. Nick's always been unhinged, but this meltdown during this interview was truly unique. His behavior in the 90s was apparent and well documented thanks to him literally being in like 2 movies a year. Number 4, Christian Bale. Christian is a very versatile actor, physically and of course skill-wise. He's able to shrink and grow his physique seemingly at will. He's played everything from a skinny substance addict to Batman in 2008. Christian starred in the 3rd film of the Terminator franchise, Terminator Salvation, and while he was filming a scene, director of photography Shane Holbert apparently just moved into Christian's eyesight, and this caused Christian to snap out of character and into defense mode. The now infamous audio clip of Christian screaming at Shane to make matters worse, anyone trying to calm Christian down were met with an equally swift verbal lashing. While the cinematographer was just checking a light to make sure that it was in the right place, like doing his job, Bale made it his mission to share his intense feelings with the entire crew. When the audio leaked, Bale apologized for his actions and told the world to praise the crew for their work. Now, while the movie turned out okay visually speaking, the project as a whole is remembered as a terrible Terminator movie, and he gets pretty uncomfortable when he talks about it on stage. Number 3, Paris Hilton. Paris is the originator of the phrase famous for being famous, because this woman made headlines many times over the years for a little bit of everything. In 2011, Paris appeared on ABC to discuss her career, her personal life, and the recent situations she had been dealing with involving stalkers. During the interview, she revealed a few things about her life that had previously been speculated, like the fact that she used a higher-pitched baby voice on the show Simple Life, but had a much deeper and serious tone in real life. But the conversation eventually ventures into uncharted waters. The interviewer asked Paris if she felt that her former friend and protege protege, Kim Kardashian, had overshadowed her in the eyes of the media. Paris says nothing, looks to her publicist, and goes to stand up. They almost wrapped the interview entirely, but eventually things simmered down and they were able to clear up the air. However, the moment stuck with fans of Hilton immediately and begged the question, why is she so uncomfortable talking about this? And it's because it's true. Well, it turns out the world answered the question for her because Kim Kardashian's show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, made it big, and Paris Hilton's show was cancelled after one season. So, there you go. Number 2, Tom Cruise. Matt Lauer is not just a terrible person who turned out to be a creepy creepo. He was once a popular talk show host in the early 2000s. During an interview with Tom Cruise in 2005, the topic of his scientific beliefs came up that quickly sent Tom into a rant about psychiatry, and somehow the topic got into Ritalin and pseudosciences. I don't know, Tom yelled at Matt about knowing more than him about psychiatry, like he had some inside information that he was secretly a therapist, who knows. The interview came at the height of Tom's pretty public descent into chaotic badness, becoming very famous for his outlandish beliefs and his wish to push them onto other people. The highlight of the interview came when Cruise was asked about his previous criticisms of Brooke Shields taking anti-sad time pills, to which he responded by calling her a glib. I looked up the definition of that word and it means fluent and voluble, but insincere and shallow. But this was only one of the several interviews from 2005 that I wanted to discuss today, especially with Tom Cruise. Good lord, that was a rough year for him. When he was with Katie Holmes, he was a nutcase. Just ask Oprah. I mean, ever since the mid-2000s, his career has mainly been Mission Impossible, with only a few small roles to fill the gaps here and there, not the Hollywood superstar that he was aiming to be. And at number 1, my favorite entry, Bobcat Goldthwait. Allow me to start the entry by doing an impression of Bobcat. Thank you. Bobcat may not be much of an actor these days, but in the 80s and 90s, this man was dominating the film and comedy scene. His zany brand of over-the-top, high-energy performance was so well received by any and all who saw him. I can still hear his voice echoing in my head whenever I think of Police Academy. In 1994, comedian Arsenio Hall invited his longtime buddy Bobcat onto his talk show, which unfortunately was in its final days on the air. When he heard the cancellation, Bobcat decided to send a message to the big brains that made the decision, because he spray painted the word Paramount on the wall behind him, throws furniture around, breaks TV screens, all the while Arsenio is just sitting back and laughing. When they returned from commercial, the set was in ruins, and despite that, Arsenio joked that he was like, the worst part is I have to pretend like I'm mad at him. Joke's on him, that wasn't the only talk show meltdown he partook in. A few years after this, Bobcat set a chair on fire on the Jay Leno show for no reason, just for fun. Like he was standing there just going, fire. He was fined over $3,000 and made to replace the chair. Oh, and in case you haven't noticed, he hasn't been asked to be on any talk shows recently.
At number 10, we have American actress Renee Zellweger. The rumors of her alleged plastic surgery operations started from her attendance at Elle's Women in Hollywood party in 2014, where the entire internet decided she looked completely different from her last public appearance. And trust me when I say they were not quiet about this. Aside from her not seeming like her usual self visually, Renee spoke with people about the issues following the social media rampant. She told the media outlet at the time, quote, "I'm glad folks think I look different. I'm living a different, happy, more fulfilling life, and I'm thrilled that perhaps it shows." In line with her previous statement, she also touched on the fact that she felt like the conversation stimulated around her appearance in general were targeted at her by people who were snooping for an unrealistic truth, and how they wouldn't stop hassling her until she finally addressed it. Yet people were still far from convinced anyways, so I guess there went her hopes for less harassment. At number 9, we have California girl singer, songwriter, actress, and TV personality Katy Perry. This pop princess has certainly made her mark in Hollywood over the years, but one thing she says she has not done is undergone plastic surgery. Perry dished to Refinery 29 in a January 2018 interview about which cosmetic procedures she apparently made the decision to greenlight versus the ones she had not. In typical girl boss Katy fashion, she also proceeded to flock to the defense of people who obtain plastic surgeries, as she understands that doing so is both a decision and right completely for themselves. The Dark Horse artist detailed, quote, "I haven't had any. I've done lasers and gotten injections under my eyes for the hollowing, which I'd recommend for everyone who wants a solution for their dark circles, but all my assets are real. People tend to think they are fake, but it doesn't really matter." We're getting away from the negative stigma about physical alterations. Of course, always be your authentic self, but if someone wants a nose job that makes them feel better and they love their profile more because of it, go ahead, do whatever makes you feel better about yourself. At number number 8, we have Emily Ratajkowski. Emily had accusations of getting lip injections before, and she took to her Instagram stories to address the topic in January 2021. In this, she fired back with, "For anyone saying you need to stop with the lip injections, I've never had lip injections. No judging folks who do, but you can't get injections when you're pregnant." She even pulled out the statistics to back up her facts, following up with, "A woman's blood volume increases 50%, which is why ladies can get a little puffy in the face and lips during pregnancy." In response, fans had said things like how Emily had been pregnant forever, which was a rude comment she very quickly shut down. She even later shared a picture of herself from the 6th grade to prove her natural lips are nearly identical, keeping in mind that as we develop, our facial structures can change slightly, so they wouldn't be 100% the same. Still, quite the impressive way to prove your point, Em. At number 7, we have American actress and model Megan Fox. Now, Megan had to respond to her own set of plastic surgery rumors in the windmill back in 2011, where she collabed back with a quirky Facebook album under the title "Things You Can't Do With Your Face When You Have Botox." And if this wasn't nearly comical enough in proving her haters wrong, Megan proceeded to create various facial expressions and at one point pointed to her wrinkles in the collection of photos. And well, when you're as stunning as Megan is, I can see why people would flock to the "she's had plastic surgery for sure" spiel. But regardless, please remember that not every beautiful celebrity has gone under the knife to achieve their attractive auras. Some beauty in Hollywood really is natural, and neither way is a wrong one of living. I know it's so easy to gossip about others' lives and what they choose to do with it, but we should really start refraining from commenting on people's appearances in general, even if we feel like some celebs are actually lying about it. Anyways, let's move on. At number 6, we have the ever so iconic singer, actress, and dancer Jennifer Lopez, known mostly under her stage name of J-Lo. With how much popularity she's accumulated in her youthful looking years, it's no surprise that she's yet another celebrity who received plastic surgery accusations. In January of last year, J-Lo uploaded a video of her testing out her new face mask under her J-Lo beauty line. A user on the platform posted a comment which reads, "You definitely have Botox, and tons of it. And it's all good, just saying." This seemed to be Jennifer's snapping point because she rapidly responded with, "LOL, that's just my face. For the 500 millionth time, I've never done any Botox or injectables or surgery. Just saying. Get you some J-Lo beauty and feel beautiful in your own skin." Jennifer then added on to this comment with the statement, "Here's another J-Lo beauty secret. Try spending time being more positive, kind, and uplifting of others. Don't spend your time trying to bring others down. That will keep you youthful and beautiful too. Sending you love." What a classy way to stick it to him. At number 5, we have American model Kendall Jenner. Now the Kardashians have all been under loads of heat both in the past and presently about their supposed cosmetic procedures and lacks of truth in them. So of course Kendall was not safe from social media's firings. In a 2017 upload on her website and app, Kendall debunked cosmetic surgery theories from fans following a Facebook Live event she and her sister Kylie collaborated on. Kendall explained how her younger sister's makeup skills were the reason why her appearance seemed altered. Fans were not convinced, but Kendall still wrote the following quote, "All of a sudden photos of us came out with headlines like, 'OMG, Kendall got her lips done and got full facial reconstruction. Look at her cheekbones, look at her nose.' I was like, this is crazy. I didn't even address it at the time, because if I address it, people are gonna be like, oh, so she's defending herself. She must be guilty. As a model, why would I have my face reconstructed? It doesn't make any sense." Kylie had previously cracked a joke by accepting responsibility for the spark of rumors of Kendall's face when she did her older sister's makeup. She informed Snapchat that Kendall let me overline her lip today with lip liner and everyone thinks she got lip injections. I'm sorry, Kendall. At number 4, we have another American model. This time it's Bella Hadid. Models seem to be a trend for centering around accusations of them lying about plastic surgery, but I believe it's because a supermodel's entire career is based on how she looks. And unfortunately, that means speculations and criticism will always come at large against the praises. As an accomplished model in gigs, Bella also takes one of the top spots of being a style and beauty icon. So naturally, she's been under fire for not being entirely natural. But Bella has denied these claims every time. She spoke with InStyle for an interview in 2018 where she stated, "People think I got all this surgery or did this and that, and you know what? We can do a scan of my face, darling. I'm scared of putting fillers in my lip. I wouldn't want to mess up my face." At number 3 we have Hailey Bieber. Amongst her fairly recent title of being Justin Bieber's wife, she is very much her own person because of the mega successful supermodel career she maintains. Hailey has also faced previous backlash about possibly lying about getting procedures done, and many will say her before and after pictures speak for themselves. Her subjection to harsh criticism led to her slamming a plastic surgeon account on Instagram when a side-by-side photo of her as a teenager was being compared to her visuals now. Quote, "Stop using pics that are edited by makeup artists. This photo on the right is not what I look like. I've never touched my face, so if you're gonna sit around and compare me at 13 and then me at 23, at least use a natural photo that wasn't edited so crazy." I think I'll leave this one up to you guys to debunk though. At number 2 we have another Kardashian. This time she is the core of their bunch and single-handedly the reason why they all have their fame today. Kim Kardashian has always been a touchy subject when it comes to plastic surgery theories for as long as I can remember, but one instance that really reeled everybody in was her body accusations after she gave birth to her eldest daughter Northwest back in 2013. Naturally, the reality star was absolutely livid about the fact that her post-baby efforts in the fitness department were suddenly being overshadowed by accusations of her having gone under the knife to achieve her bounce-back body. She released a tweet which stated, "I'm very frustrated today seeing reports that I got surgery to lose my baby weight. This is false. I worked so hard to train myself to eat right and healthy. I worked out so hard and this was such a challenge for me, but I did it. I'm so proud of my accomplishment and no one will take this away from me with fake reports. Say what you want about me, but I work hard and I'm the most disciplined person you will ever meet." As if she hadn't proven her point enough though, Kim spoke out once more a couple of months following a fan questioning on social media why it was so hard for everybody to believe she didn't work hard to achieve her body. They also complimented the reality star by saying how great she looked, to which Kim had responded with, "Preach, lol, thank you. It sucks when people make up surgery or Photoshop lies when I'm so disciplined and worked so hard. Just trying to motivate others and show anyone struggling with weight they can totally achieve what they want if they're dedicated." I'll leave it at that. At number 1 we have our affluent pop princess Ariana Grande. This wouldn't be the first time the gorgeous starlet would receive rumors of lying about procedures people believe she's undergone, but it would be the last time she used up her energy to address it. Ariana once pointed out in a 2014 video, quote, "On the cover of some magazine they said, 'Oh, Ariana Grande, boob job, brow lift, cheap shaving, lips done.' I was like, you're comparing a picture of me from when I'm 14 years old to when I'm 21, and I'm wearing a push-up bra." Ariana also readdressed the rumors while reminiscing at throwback family photos with her older brother Frankie. While doing so, she lightheartedly joked, "That's why I'm on the cover and they're saying I got plastic surgery. Goddamn, puberty went night."
Number 10. Joaquin Phoenix. We understand a dedication to one's craft, and Joaquin Phoenix is a prime example. Joaquin's acting career has been going steady since he first appeared in the 1989 comedy Parenthood when he was in his mid-teens. While he's seen as one of the greatest actors in recent history, his reputation on set was tarnished thanks to a little freak out while filming the 2018 solo flick Joker. He appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live to promote the shoot when Jimmy played a behind-the-scenes clip of Joaquin getting loud and angry at a man named Larry and the constant whispering behind the cameras before dropping a few F-bombs and storming off the set. When the cameras came back to the studio, Joaquin was frozen in shock, clearly not expecting that clip to have ever seen the light of day. He explained that Larry was a cinematographer who had been teasing Joaquin off set earlier in the day, calling him a diva and referring to him as Cher. In fact, during his on-set outburst, you can hear him say, "But you can call me Cher, huh? How is that an insult? Huh? She's the best." He then explained that there's a lot of pressure on set, especially in a closed space like the apartment from the scene that they were filming. He apologized to the audience for having to see him behave in such a manner and watching him freak out on set, which was met with applause. At the end of the day, he's a performer, no harm ever came from the outburst. Hey man, if Larry's okay with it, so are we. Number 9. Nick Cage. One of the most unhinged men in Hollywood history. One of the few people who somehow managed to star in a billion movies but has barely seen or kept a cent of it. During a press junket in 1990, Nick went on a talk show called Wogan to discuss his latest project, Wild at Heart. When the host Terry Wogan announced Cage, he entered with karate kicks, a front flip somersault. He threw wads of cash at the audience because hey, he was Nicolas frickin' Cage, man! He finally sat down and moments before the interview truly began, Nick asked if he could just take off his jacket for a second. He proceeded to take off his jacket and the shirt that was underneath it. If people thought that Nick was all together before, they were proven very wrong during this interview. Despite the content being relatively tame, the entire time you can see the sweat glistening off Nick's hairy chest. Cause hey, guess what? Wearing a leather jacket on your bare chest is beyond uncomfortable. Sure, it might look cool until you take it off and you're covered in a heat rash. Nick's always been unhinged, but his odd behavior in the 90s was apparent and well documented thanks to him literally being in a minimal of 2 movies a year. Number 8, Christian Bale. Christian is a versatile actor, both physically and skill-wise. He's able to shrink and grow his physique seemingly at will. He's played everything from a skinny substance addict to Batman. In 2008, Christian starred in the 3rd film of the Terminator franchise, Terminator Salvation. While he was filming a scene, director of photography Shane Holbert apparently moved into Christian's eyesight. This caused Christian to snap out of character and into defense mode. The clip is now infamous of Christian screaming at Shane, but to make matters worse, anyone trying to calm Christian down on the set were met with an equally swift verbal lashing. While the cinematographer was just checking a light to make sure if it was in the right place, aka doing his job, Bale made it his mission to share his intense feelings with the entire crew. When the audio leaked, Bale apologized for his actions and told the world to praise the crew for their work. While the movie turned out okay, visually speaking, the project as a whole is remembered as one of the worst entries in the Terminator franchise to date. Number 7, Tom Cruise. Now, it's one thing to be asking people to join your church all the time. Whatever, not a big deal. But Tom's behavior as a member of society has been rough to say the least. Following the announcement that he was engaged to Katie Holmes in the early 2000s, Tom appeared on an episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show that has gone down in history as one of the most chaotic TV interviews of all time. From the moment he walks on stage, he has such a strange energy. He's oddly excited, like he just got told the best news in his entire life. He throws his arms up in the air, he rubs Oprah's shoulders like she's a lamp and he's trying to summon the genie. He revealed to the audience that the excitement was from his engagement to fellow actor Katie Holmes. Awesome, man, but hey, can you please just stop trying to break Oprah? Seriously, Tom jumped on her couch, he grabbed her hands over and over. She couldn't even get the questions that she had for him out because he was just so chaotic. Eventually, Oprah was like, whatever, just bring Katie out. And the cameras followed Tom through the studio as he ran around trying to find her. It looked like a scene from Paranormal Activity. It was horrifying. Tom's energy continued to stay at that level of chaos throughout his entire marriage to Katie, but since they're divorced, he's just nuts. He is just nuts now. Number 6, Will Smith. Wait a minute, when did Will Smith have a meltdown? I'm just kidding, you guys know this one by now. In 2022, Chris Rock was hosting the 94th annual Oscar ceremony when he decided to make a little joke about Jada Pinkett Smith and her hair loss. Good old G.I. Jane joke. Rock expressed his excitement to see Jada in a fictional G.I. Jane movie, and immediately following the joke, Rock stood in confusion as Will Smith made his way to the stage. Will walked up, he adjusted his jacket, he looked strong, confident, he took a firm stance, and then he just smacked Chris right across the face just as hard as he could. He winded up his hand to conjure up the full power that he had inside of him. Initially, this was seen as a planned joke between the two, but then Will started shouting at Rock several times during the ceremony to keep his wife's name out of his mouth. Chris handled the situation well though, he kept his cool, he laughed it off for the cameras, and he brought out the next award presenter, literally the classiest man of the night. He was professional and quick to get the night back on track, but unfortunately an hour later, Will Smith won the Oscar for Best Actor in a leading role in King Richard. He played Richard Williams, the father of tennis superstars Venus and Serena Williams, and during his speech, he gave a half-hearted apology for his actions before claiming that the situation was due to his months of portraying the father on set, leaving him with an extreme paternal sense to protect his family. Unfortunately for Will, the slap was enough to get him banned from the Oscars indefinitely, and not just that, but he's been banned from Hollywood entirely, as he is now being seen as an aggressive man with no impulse control. He was fired from any upcoming projects and currently sits at home all day polishing his one and only Oscar while a single tear rolls down his face. Poor old Will Smith. Number 5, Joan Rivers. While speaking with CNN host Frederica Whitfield about her role as a fashion critique on the reality series Fashion Police, Joan did not appreciate the questions that she was being asked. While calm at first, the host claimed that Joan's comments on the show may be considered mean or cold-hearted, but the fans wanted to hear what she had to say. But before being able to even finish that sentence, Joan decided to clap back with, "It's not mean, excuse me," claiming that she says the truth. She's just saying whatever the people on the couch at home are probably thinking. She calls people and their styles ugly on TV. She may be cold, but her words are meant to heal and not to berate. Okay, so everyone who called me ugly in high school was just trying to encourage me? I don't think so. The interviewer then went on to ask Joan how she felt her words were coming across to the audience of both her show and the readers of her book, which apparently featured some pretty dark content about people that Joan just had no business discussing. Joan said, if you can make something funny in life, do it. Hey, I've got pages and pages of jokes about the events in New York in 2001, but I'm not allowed to say them because they'd make people uncomfortable. Not a good defense, Joni. The final straw came when Joan was asked about the fur coat that she was wearing on the cover of her book and the backlash that she may face from animal rights activists. Well, Joan became furious and decided to leave the interview, but not before calling out Frederica for asking negative questions, for wearing leather shoes, and she reminded her that she made people laugh for over 50 years, okay? Quit asking me why I did this and why are you wearing that. I'm done. She walked off set and was never invited to return again. Number 4. Bobcat Goldthwait. Allow me to start this entry with an impression of Bobcat Goldthwait smelling something that he enjoys. Thank you. Bobcat may not be much of an actor these days, but in the 80s and 90s, this man was dominating the film and comedy scene. His zany brand of over-the-top high-energy performance was well received by any and all who saw him. Heck, I can still hear his voice echoing in my head whenever I think about Police Academy. In 1994, comedian Arsenio Hall invited his longtime friend Bobcat onto his talk show, which unfortunately was in its final days on air. When he heard of the cancellation, Bobcat decided to send a message to the big brains that made that dumb decision. He spray painted the words Paramount on the wall behind him, he threw furniture around, he breaks TV screens, all while Arsenio just sits back and laughs. When they returned from commercial break, the set was in ruins. Despite that though, Arsenio joked, saying, the worst part of all this is that I gotta pretend like I'm mad at him. Joke's on him, that wasn't the only talk show meltdown that he's partaken in. A few years after this, Bobcat set a chair on fire on the Jay Leno show for no reason other than just for fun, I guess. Like he was standing there going, fire, yay! He was fined over $3,000 and made to replace the chair. In case you haven't noticed, he hasn't been asked to appear on any talk shows in recent history. So I wonder why. Number 3, Bill Murray. He came, he saw, he kicked his ass. Bill Murray, the star of box office beauties like Ghostbusters, Groundhog's Day, and Garfield, nope, Garfield, can't say it, I can't say it, nope, can't talk about it. Bill was doing a round of press in 2015 when he made an appearance on 2 talk shows equally as smashed. He stopped by MSNBC studios to appear on the show The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell. As the show was about to cut to break, Bill tries to sit and he falls on his tall studio chair. In the photo, you can see just how done O'Donnell is with Bill. According to Murray, after he finally got on his feet, he informed the audience that he had just finished doing the David Letterman show. He then went to dinner and had a few glasses of the no juice before stopping by the studio. As you may expect, Bill slurs his way through the entire interview, constantly going off topic to give the classic, I love you guys, man, you're doing such a good job. Bill actually physically had a meltdown. He started sliding down in his seat to the point where he was almost doing the interview from the floor. I'm not telling anyone to drink no juice by any means, but I think we can all agree that inebriated Bill Murray is quite the hoot. Number 2, Anna Nicole Smith. Anna wasn't just your average Playboy bunny turned Hollywood sweetheart. No. She was also a spokesperson for a line of dietary products after losing a significant amount of weight herself. At the 2004 American Music Awards, Anna took to the stage to introduce rap star Kanye West, but stumbled and fumbled her way through the entire thing, sparking widespread concern about her health. Her speech has lived on in infamy. She mumbles, fumbles, and tries to sell herself to the audience over and over again. Her former partner, Larry Burkhardt, revealed the sad truth of the situation 10 years after her passing. He said that Anna had been taking medication at the time to help recover from her enhancement surgeries. She had chronic pain in every part of her body and unfortunately did not follow the recommended dosage her doctor prescribed. The night before the show, Anna had apparently suffered a small seizure and took copious amounts of medication to help ease the pain and keep her awake for the award show. The result was Anna appearing to be under the influence of something and Kanye West being brought out to one of the strangest introductions in awards show history. And at number 1, oh look, it's Tom Cruise again. I know, right? Shocker. We know Tom Cruise is insane. There's no denying that. He may be one of Hollywood's biggest and brightest in his early days, but his career and skills as an actor have slowly been going downhill ever since he divorced Katie Holmes. Now to prove his insanity and rage, let's just talk about an incident that occurred on his latest Mission Impossible movie set. An audio clip was released of Cruise berating several crew members with intent intense anger. The crew in question were accused of not following the safety protocols that were in place at the time. In his rant, Tom is heard swearing and screaming about the rules and how if he wants something to happen, it's gonna happen. The crew are essentially his minions who must do the master's bidding. The rant went viral, but Cruz actually defended his rant rather than apologizing for it, claiming that he said what he said and the stakes were at an all-time high, so suck it up. While this may have happened at a time when Hollywood was shut down and many productions were on hold, it's no excuse to harass the people trying to make you look good.
Rebel Wilson was caught in one of these very old-fashioned age scandals. According to one of Wilson's high school classmates speaking anonymously to an Australian tabloid, Wilson had been lying about her age, her name, her upbringing, and her family's class. Those claims were amplified across the Australian and international press and social media, which began a tirade to know the real Rebel Wilson. On May 18, 2015, Wilson addressed the rumors via Twitter, joking, "Oh my god, I'm actually an 100-year-old mermaid, formerly known as CC Chalice. Thanks, shady Australian press, for your tall poppy syndrome." In the aftermath, investigations into business and voting records did show that Wilson's legal name is actually Melanie Elizabeth Bounds. She's not 29 as previously claimed on her IMDb page, but actually 35, born March 2nd of 1980. Rebel's fans maintained her lives weren't actually that abnormal or horrendous, with one Reddit user even pointing out that being 30 and Pitch Perfect isn't that strange, seeing as, quote, Anna Camp, Esther Dean, Adam Devine, etc. aren't that far behind her and were also playing college students as well. Ironically, Ben Platt was the only cast member who was 18 playing a 19-year-old. While some celebs are outed by former classmates, some like Constance Wu are outed by, well, their fans just not believing what they say about their age. Because when Fresh Off the Boat first came out and it gave Wu her big break, she pretended to be in her early 20s and even did interviews all like, LOL, I'm playing a mom of teens and yet I'm so young, but her own beloved fans didn't buy it, especially upon the release of the movie Hustlers. It sparked rumors and theories online that she was faking her age. In February 2015 interview with Glamour, trying to prompt an age answer from the actress, Wu was asked about what her on-screen husband, Randall Park, who was 40, was like compared to her alleged 26. Constant Wu's response was to brazenly joke that he was immature while she was mature, and it made them feel like they were the same age. When the interviewer pressed further, suggesting Constance wasn't actually old enough to have birthed her on-screen kids, the actress countered that biologically she was. In an interview the following year, 2016, Vulture set things right. In it, Wu is asked whether she's actually 26 like she had been claiming, or as the media had been reporting, was she 34. Wu claimed she was 34 and explained not correcting anyone previously by saying, I think originally on Wikipedia it listed my age incorrectly. There's a lot of ageism in the industry, so when people would talk about it, I just wouldn't correct them. While these two leading ladies lied downwards, some lie upwards about their age, like a young Lawrence Fishburne. He is the OG of lying about your age to nab a role actor. Lawrence was only 14 when he cold-faced lied to Francis Ford Coppola himself about being 16 to play the 17-year-old character Tyrone Clean Miller in the legendary 1976 film Apocalypse Now. Fishburne explained in 2013 interview he was not fooling producer Fred Roos, though who he says knew him from a different project he had done when he was younger. So needless to say, the casting team wasn't entirely sure if he looked as old as he claimed to be, so they needed an extra set of eyes. To quote Fishburne, a young woman who was working in the offices, a secretary, got up and walked through the room, he said. And as she was walking, Francis finally spoke up, and he just looked at her and said, excuse me, you think this kid could be 18? And whoever this woman was, she turned around, looked at me and went, yeah. With the validation of an unaffiliated third party, Fishburne got the part, and although he was 14 when shooting began, he was 18 years old by the time the movie was released in theaters. However, his true age of 14 was actually confirmed to the entirety of cast during the filming of a specific scene where he had to talk about his love of Playboy magazines, and he fumbled through it. Caught aging himself down as the man who'd normally never fumble, that's Eminem. And there's quite a few age slip-ups from this rapper. Once on Howard Stern's radio show in 1999, Eminem claimed to be 24. However, he was actually 27. On some tracks from TES and MMLP, he says his age, but it's always 2 years less than what it actually is. That, and in TES, a Square One Stance lyric dropped is, I'm 28, they gonna take you for they take me. Also, there's a video of Eminem celebrating his birthday on stage in 2002, and it says, happy 26th birthday. So a lot of confusion, but why did Eminem lie? Same reason as many celebrities, it's competition. There were a lot of young men in hip-hop when Eminem was pushing himself out there, and the internet was just getting big, so it's not like anyone was gonna fact check him, at least for not a long time. So Eminem often subtracted 2 to 4 years from his stage age, which he later admitted in an interview after it was found out because his mother released his birth certificate as part of that period of time where she was harassing him like crazy. So Jerry Halliwell lied due to competitive reasons as well, as she was part of the girl group the Spice Girls during an era of utter girl group competition. Jerry was known as Ginger Spice and told the press she was 21 to match herself up with the ages of her bandmates and not throw off the public perception of, women being perceived as old in the industry earlier than anyone else. However, it was her own homegirl who did her in. A fellow band member, Victoria, aka Posh Spice, let slip an interview Halliwell is older than 21, but never specified how much older, which sent the internet into a frenzy of speculation and gossip. At Fuel to the Fire, Melanie Brown has also claimed since Halliwell has lied about her age for decades and said no one knows how old she is. She even revealed her friend always kept her passport close to her chest when they were on tour as the Spice Girls. Scary Spice admitted she doesn't believe Ginger Spice was born in 1972, despite even celebrating her 50th birthday with her celebrity friend. Speaking of pop queens lying about their age, one for my Irish viewers, Nadine Cole. So, the Girls Aloud band member was on a show called Pop Stars, where she lied about her age in order to compete in the talent show. In a hilarious clip, it was revealed that Nadine had been lying about her age and was just 16, which is 2 years younger than the minimum age requirement of 18 for that Irish show. So the clip shows her panicking on camera when confronted about her age. She starts digging through her purse for a birth certificate or a passport she knows she won't find. She starts awkwardly calling her mom, asking where her passport is. It's a bit of social media history in Ireland apparently, and highly memed in reference there as well. Nadine Cole was disqualified from the competition and sent back home to Derry, but Lewis Walsh later encouraged her to enter the UK version of the show, Pop Stars The Rivals, the following year, and she actually has since had a career. Nicola Colin actually accredited the iconic clip to how she learned how to do her Derry girl's accent while in an interview with Graham Norton. To quote Sandra Bullock, after a while, you have no idea how old you are because you've lied so many times. She said that back in an interview with Detour in 1993, but before that interview and after, the actress has lied about her age almost endlessly. Old or younger really doesn't matter to Sandy, who uses lying about her age and keeping its true number a secret as a tactic to land roles that she feels she truly desires. So Bullock confessed in 1992 that she lied about her age to get cast in The Love Potion No. 9. The part of the biologist Diane Farrow called for a 29-year-old actress, but she was actually younger at the time. The multi-award winning actor was told by Barbara Walters that it would be wise to tell a white lie, so she convinced everyone she was 29 to get the role. Laverne Cox opened up about her struggle with aging in a similar fashion. The actress has formally claimed to be born in 1982, when it was actually 1972. Now reminder, Laverne did start off in the drag world, where it's actually really normal for performers to shave off like 10 years or more, but she carried on lying about her age after having a man break up with her when she was 28 for being too old. Worried about castability and desirability, Laverne lied about her age as she made her big break in Orange is the New Black, a show that would accidentally help reveal her true age. See, Laverne's twin brother plays her character pre-gender transition in the show, and when fans went to Google if that fact was true, yo, that's so cool, they find his IMDb, which has his real age listed. And seeing as Laverne and her brother are fraternal twins, the fact that her age was listed 10 years after his on IMDb didn't make much sense. So then on the Ellen show, she's called out and she says, IMDb found out my real age, so it started appearing places, and it was freaking me out. I was having such anxiety, so I started talking to my therapist about it. I started unpacking all the stories I had about being older, and the stories were all like I wasn't hireable, I wasn't dateable, I wasn't effable, and then I just worked through all that. On a somewhat funnier note, Chris Brown's age was revealed when he was trying to win love from the astrology girlies, so he posted his full astro circle chart to his Instagram story. Brown, however, is only smart enough to remove his birth date from his birth chart, meaning one eagle-eye Instagram user who studied astrology called him out in the comments, writing, if this chart is true, hey Chris Brown, you're 4 years older than what you actually claim. Turns out his Saturn was in the late degree of Scorpio, and his Pluto was in an early degree of Scorpion. Add that together, and his stars were in Liar Liar Pants on Fire. So Chris Brown's birthday was revealed to be May 1985, not 89, and as a result, he blocked the first astrologer to call him out in the comments and then deleted all of his star charts and refuses to address this. Mariah Carey, for her part, told Complex in 2016 she just doesn't even believe in having a birthday. Mariah Carey's true birth year has long been debated in the press and social media, with evidence supporting both 1969 and 1970 as the correct answer. With that little difference, it really doesn't matter, and it seems Mariah shares my opinion, as she herself is quoted to have said she she really just wants to remain eternally oblivious to age. To quote her, "I was just dropped here. It was a fairyland experience," she said in 2016. 3 years later, the singer maintained that she doesn't believe in aging, saying to an interview, "I don't get this 10-year challenge. Time is not something I acknowledge." She also captioned 2 similar photos of herself in January 2019 after a social media transformation went viral, picture taken at some point prior to today.
Number 10, Taylor Swift versus E.T. If there is one thing that should be known about Taylor Swift, it's that she can end entire careers with one conversation. In 2015, Taylor was on the red carpet for the Grammy Awards, where she was interviewed by Entertainment Tonight. The woman who interviewed her started the interview by asking her cameraman to pan up and down and literally check Taylor out with a massive camera, which, that's not weird at all. After going along with the bit and telling the camera about the dress, the interviewer then said that she honestly just wanted to look at Taylor's legs because, as she said before the show, Taylor is going to be going home with more than a trophy, perhaps a man. Well, Taylor didn't appreciate that comment or the assumption. She did not laugh and proceeded to tell the interviewer that she would be going home, but just not with any men. She just wanted to go hang out with friends and then maybe home to her cats. While the majority of the interview went well, the interviewers were reprimanded behind the scenes by Taylor herself and her team, and the news of Taylor's dislike for the interviewers made its way up to the top, where the ET executives decided to keep these people off the red carpet for a while. Remember, keep your creepy camera gestures to yourself, lady. Number 9, Vitaly Sedgwick versus everyone. This man has done some truly disgusting things to people for the sake of views. He's grabbed people's legs, attempted to force himself on people. He was even arrested after running on the stage at the Grammys. But his most explosive interaction, and the one that really sealed his fate, was his interaction with Will Smith. Will was walking the red carpet in 2013, giving people interviews, when Ukrainian comedian Vitaly Sedgwick approached him, a man who is unfortunately world famous for being an absolute horror to celebrities. He pretended to be a reporter and started to walk towards Will and tried to give him a kiss on the cheek and mouth. Well, Will obviously shoved him backwards and gave him a little "hey buddy," and then just gave him a little backhand to the face. A team of security following Mr. Smith picked this guy up off the ground and carried him away like a toddler, which he is. Who knew Will was practicing for his Oscar slap all the way back then? Sedgwick was finally reprimanded for his actions, and he was actually made to pay a hefty fine for attempting to force himself on Will Smith, but needless to say, this guy works for himself now and security knows his face. Number 8, Amy Schumer versus Kim and Kanye. In the mid-2010s, comedian Amy Schumer was named one of Time People's top 100 most influential people and was made to attend a red carpet event to celebrate with her fellow influencers, 2 of whom were Kanye West and Kim Kardashian, the power couple of the century. While discussing the incident on the Graham Norton show, she revealed that the whole thing was a planned prank on Kim and Ye. Her goal was to get them to crack a smile and get some good fun pictures from the event, but Kim and Kanye did not find the situation funny and continued to walk past Amy as she fell in front of them. The best picture is just Kim staring at Amy for a moment, being like, "Oh my god, is that really happening?" While the moment was meant to create a fun scene, it instead made Amy look like she had a grudge towards Kim and Kanye. Now, while not an interview, the incident on the red carpet forced Comedy Central to postpone a season of her show until things were sorted out with Kim, and it turned out not only did Kim not care, but she actually did end up finding this kind of funny in the end. With the two apparently now being close friends, Amy even made a cameo on Kim's new show, The Kardashians. Number 7, Hugh Grant versus Handcuffs. While attending the Dutch premiere of his rom-com Music and Lyrics, Hugh Grant got the shock of a lifetime after a fan got way too excited and took their admiration to a whole new level. Television journalist Silka Sibin approached Grant and he thought that it was an interview, but then she handcuffed herself to him. For about 10 minutes, the patient but frustrated Hugh Grant just waited and watched while several people started snapping pictures left and right. After the fire department finally released them, Sibin was taken away by police. While this may have seemed like your average Hollywood interaction, the news stations she worked for did not appreciate this gag. She was fired from that station, making 2 reporters taken down by the Hugh Meister in his career. Hugh Meister? I don't know. Let's use it. Number 6, Jim Carrey versus the world. Jim Carrey is known for his hilarious personality on and off screen, but he gave Kat Sadler from E! News and Daily Pop an awkward interview on the red carpet at Harper's Bazaar party in 2017. The interaction started with Jim slowly circling Kat as she attempts to express her confusion and excitement that Jim Carrey is at a Fashion Week event. Was the man known for being an incredible artist, bringing that talent to the fashion world? No! He was just mad. By 2017, Jim had made a name for himself as an oddly serious guy who tended to venture into the realm of energies and universal concepts when he gets into deep conversations. He started this conversation with, "This is meaningless." He continued to say that he wanted to find the most meaningless thing he could attend that night. That event was a celebration of icons and celebrities, according to Kat, to which Jim said that he didn't agree, as in he doesn't agree with the concept of icons. He continues to give a small speech about not believing people are really real, that we're all just a field of energy, and that peace lies beyond personality, man. The entire time the interview is taking place, Kat is just visibly uncomfortable and just counting down to the moment that Jim says something funny or even remotely related to fashion, but instead he just shares his thoughts, tells her she has a nice fragrance, and walks away. While Jim's career had already started to slow down at that point, this clip became viral and studios were wondering if he might be a good fit for anything. A lot of scripts with his name on them were rewritten or just simply kept to themselves, right up until 2020 when he made a comeback in the surprisingly fun Sonic the Hedgehog movie. So here's hoping for a third one sometime soon. Bjork versus the Oscars. Next up on our list is not only the most memorable outfit from any award show, but it's also the strangest. In 2001, musician Bjork made an appearance at the Academy Awards where she was nominated for Best Original Song from Dancer in the Dark. She appeared on the red carpet with a massive swan draped over herself, and while thankfully not a real swan carcass just, drenched over her shoulders, the dress was a creation from designer Marjan Bajowski, meaning someone took the time and effort to make this dress. Thankfully, I'm not the only person who thought this was a little bit of a weird choice. A lot of comments from that evening include people calling her a duck, claiming she should be institutionalized, and one celebrity just kind of looked at her and was like, in the years that followed, the dress was parodied several times. Ellen DeGeneres and Kevin James even wore the same outfits on the Academy stage a few years later to attempt to poke fun at Bjork, but all they did was look silly and make the world giggle. Number 4, Mayim Bialik versus E.T. Mayim is a hilarious woman, okay? She is best known these days for her role as Amy Farrah Fowler on The Big Bang Theory and for being an absolute slayer on the red carpet. For those who don't know, she has a legitimate background as a neuroscientist. She started out as an actor when she was like 12 years old, appearing in commercials and sitcoms in the 80s, but as time went on, she shifted her focus from acting to math and science, and actually went to school for neuroscience and Hebrew studies before going straight into a PhD program. She actually met someone in school that she fell in love with and divorced, and is the mother of 2 younglings with. This woman is awesome. Even more awesome was her response to a bit of a rough question, and under-researched one at that. So the interviewers clearly didn't prep for this red carpet event, but meant nothing by this question. Mayim was asked if people thought that she could solve calculus in real time at the drop of a hat. She responded by reminding the interviewers that she actually did train in calculus for years because she's a neuroscientist, and both of the hosts just looked horrified and said, well, a little tidbit to the audience, hey, she really is a neuroscientist. Over 300,000 people watched that happen, and the responses were mixed. Some people felt that it was just a little bit of a mix-up, but a lot of people bashed the interviewers for not doing the bare minimum before asking her a question like that on live TV. They continued to be hosts, but now when people know Mayim is on her way to the red carpet, research is priority number 1. Number 3, the Oscars in 2012. The Oscars red carpet saw a couple of really fun moments in 2012, mostly caused by Sacha Baron Cohen. First thing that happened was Ryan Seacrest doing his best when suddenly Sacha appeared with an entourage and fully decked out in his General Aladdin gear from the film The Dictator. He was telling Ryan that he wanted to come tonight and spread the ashes of his fallen friend and doubles tennis partner Kim Jong-il. The situation got heated after Sacha dropped Kim's ashes all over Ryan. Ryan brushed them off quite literally and honestly took the situation in stride. He was just smiling and trying to get the substance off of himself. Ryan admitted at first he wasn't sure if there was anything in that urn and he knew Sacha was gonna do something, but there was 100% something in that can. The best part though came after the situation when the cleaning crew came over to vacuum up the mess and did it while Jason Segel was making his way through the crowd. The person cleaning the mess ignored him and just vacuumed over his feet. Jason is shocked and takes a step back, and there was also a wardrobe malfunction for Jennifer Lopez, who accidentally had a tip slip when she was presenting Best Costume Design. There have been many shocking Oscar moments over the years, but the 2012 red carpet carpets and its, ceremony were just a bit much. Thankfully though, it was a memorable night, no questions asked. Number 2, Gary Busey versus Jennifer Garner. Gary Busey is an interesting and controversial fella in his own right. He was a big movie star and then arrested, and then he became everyone's sleep paralysis demon. I'm sorry, I got a little scared there for a sec. In 2008, he gave the world a little heads up that he might not be all there upstairs, because Jennifer Garner, best known for Elektra or her new film The Family Switch, which is not great, was on the red carpet making her way to her seat when suddenly she was approached by Gary. Someone asked him if he knew or had met Jennifer before, and without saying anything, he just leaned in and kissed her on the neck. Her face is one of pure shock and confusion. When Gary did not immediately step back, she called for her husband at the time, Ben Affleck, to step in between them. Busey has been blacklisted from Hollywood for a lot of reasons, but this is just one of the many examples why. And at number 1, John Travolta versus Idina Menzel. A while back in 2014, John Travolta flubbed the name of one of the most famous women in musical theater history, because at the Oscars that year, he was supposed to introduce Idina Menzel ahead of her performance of Let It Go, because she was, Elsa from Frozen, fun fact, but she was also Elphaba, the musical Wicked, and a ton of other shows. She's just incredible. But for this event, she was promoting Frozen and showcasing a piece of music that ended up getting stuck in everyone's head for the rest of their lives. Please help me. And John Travolta was just so confident in his delivery of her name. He introduced the audience to the wickedly talented, one and only Adele Dazeem. The moment spawned a lot of parody Twitter accounts and even an Adele Dazeem name generator that turned people like Jared Leto into Jed Lopez, which I think is better, and Matthew McConaughey into Michael Mazzoline. That sounds like an X-rated superstar, you know what I mean? The following year, the two appeared on stage together where Idina decided to drop a little revenge. She was set to introduce the next round of nominees, and as a little joke, the Oscars decided to bring her and John onto the stage together. She introduced John by his new name, Gulam Gazingo, and the interaction between them was a little forced, but it was nice to see that they played the whole thing off for fun instead of making it an actual incident. And since then, John triple checks things before he goes on stage, which better safe than sorry, bud.
Number 10, Nigella Lawson and Charles Saatchi. The couple's fight was witnessed by a photographer who stumbled upon celebrity chef Nigella Lawson being choked by none other than her husband, Britain's most high-profile figure, Charles Saatchi. The incident all went down during her birthday lunch, and a now infamous photo was captured of the chilling sight. The photographer, who only went by the name Jean-Paul, told Vanity Fair in 2013 that when Charles grabbed his wife's throat, quote, "It was so violent, with such force that her head snapped backward." The story hit the tabloids at full speed and actually served to open up a much needed conversation about domestic violence. Their relationship was obviously far from perfect, but the intense controversy that the incident sparked was enough to tear them apart forever. That same year, Charles filed for divorce from Nigella after 10 years of marriage. Funnily enough, he later told the Daily Mail that putting his hands on her throat was merely a gesture, and insisted that there was no pressure applied to her. Yeah, right. Number 9, Kim Kardashian and Kris Humphries. Their 72-day marriage had certainly shown signs that it was going to end quickly. A few days before Kim divorced Kris on day 68, the couple was spotted arguing in their car while out on a dinner date in Hollywood. The newlywed couple were photographed heading back to Kim's car after dinner, and you could visibly see the tension in the air. Kris looked fed up, and Kim was giving her new husband the death stare while yelling and waving her hands at him as the argument began to escalate. This very public fight was indicative that their relationship was on the rocks, because that same year Kim went on to file for divorce and got the marriage annulled. The Los Angeles Times even reported that Kim had only married him to increase ratings on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. The best part was that Kris asked for a $7 million divorce settlement from his ex-wife. Otherwise, he threatened to make her endure an ugly public trial. But the NBA star ended up walking away with literally nothing. Number 8, Emma Roberts and Evan Peters. The American Horror Story actors first met on the set of Adult World in 2012, and in the short 4 years since then, the two have shared more drama than some of Hollywood's biggest blockbusters. Toxic doesn't even begin to describe their relationship. We're talking about at least 3 breakups and deleting all social media traces of each other. Early on in their relationship, TMZ reported that the two got into a heated argument while staying at a hotel in Montreal that ended up with both stars getting physical. When police arrived, Peters was found with a bloody nose and bite marks on his body, prompting police to take Emma into custody, arresting her for domestic violence. But her then boyfriend decided not to press charges and they were back together a few hours later. What's really bizarre is that a couple of days after the fight, photos were shared online of Emma clinging to Evan while sobbing into his arms after news broke of the fight. Paparazzi were even able to capture the two hugging one another, with Emma looking extremely upset the whole time. The incident was a bit of a grey area, but many have labelled it as straight up domestic violence. Number 7. Stephen Amell and Cassandra Jean Amell. The couple have been married since 2012 and all seemed well in public until it didn't. The star of CW's Arrow and his wife got into an altercation on a Delta flight from Austin to Los Angeles that ended up with the actor having to be forcibly removed from the flight. Stephen was reportedly screaming at Cassandra while they were seated on the plane and appeared to be intoxicated when a flight attendant asked him to calm down multiple times. When the fight escalated to the point of no return, the actor had to be restrained and removed by an air marshal and 3 flight attendants that worked together to get him off the plane. His wife did not go with him and instead chose to remain on the flight. Big surprise there. With the incident made public, Stephen took to Twitter to try and explain the whole thing and claimed that his emotions got the better of him. Quote, "My wife and I got into an argument. I was asked to lower my voice and I did. Approximately 10 minutes later, I was asked to leave the flight and I did so immediately. I was not forcibly removed." The whole thing was really absurd because if they needed 4 people to get him off the flight, something about his side of the story just doesn't add up. Number 6. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Before the former couple split, their relationship was clearly becoming strained, as The Sun reported that the same year that Jolie filed for divorce, they were spotted in Legoland having a major public spat. Onlookers told the magazine that both stars didn't look happy and looked stern-faced, and photos from the incident show Brad actually grabbing Angelina's arm while she pulls away and appears to be screaming at him. The couple filed for divorce in 2016, citing irreconcilable differences. Now the actors are both learning to co-parent their 6 children after years of custody battles and child support drama. According to Daily Mail, Brad has even been seen visiting Angelina's house to spend time with his kids, so it sounds like they are back on good terms. Number 5. Rihanna and Hassan Jameel. The former couple seemed like they were perfect for each other after rumors swirled that the two were engaged in 2017. Although they managed to keep their relationship very private and didn't post many photos together on social media, photos emerged of the two on a trip to Mexico in 2018 that left many fans wondering if they were done for good. The paparazzi captured photos that painted a picture of Rihanna screaming at her former billionaire boyfriend and angrily pointing her finger at him while they were on the poolside. What's interesting about the photos is that in comparison to Rihanna, Jameel looked very calm and almost passive in the argument, which made the whole thing go viral. Because of all the noise online, the singer took to Instagram and posted a meme of a female lion roaring at a male lion with the caption, quote, "When you think you know more about soccer, hashtag World Cup 2018. But even though she had a good sense of humor about the fight, the couple still ended up splitting up in 2020 because allegedly their lives were just too different and it was too hard to maintain a relationship. Number 4. Nicholas Hoult and Jennifer Lawrence. The couple fell in love with each other when they first met on the set of the X-Men movie series and became co-stars. Jennifer played Mystique and Nicholas portrayed Beast. It all seemed to be going well for the pair until they suddenly split in 2014 after dating for nearly 5 years. They did have a really public fight, however, when they were once spotted arguing during a dinner. According to reports, the former couple was at a restaurant together when they started really getting into it. Witnesses claim that the actress was upset about something and even threw her hands into the air at one point. Nicholas apparently also got very frustrated as he started shouting at her. Jennifer had apparently had enough with him and broke down as he stormed out of the restaurant. Seems like it was a bit of a mess, but it's great that the former couple have since been able to move on with their respective partners. Number 3. Simon Cowell and Lauren Silverman. This was not just one explosive fight, but actually several. The lid was really blown off the couple's relationship problems when paparazzi captured photos of them in March last year having a tense argument while walking with their son Eric. According to The Sun, passerbys noticed that the X Factor judge had a face like thunder, and their arguing was so loud almost everyone could hear them. In fact, it was reportedly so bad that Lauren got fed up and had to walk away from Simon, while the former American Idol judge decided to cross the road to the other side to put some distance between them, and he walked the rest of the way on the other side of the street. But that wasn't the first time that the pair had a fight in public. In fact, back in 2013, the couple were seen shouting at each other inside a car in New York City. They were even photographed in the middle of an altercation while sitting in the back of an SBU in broad daylight with their windows down. Simon had his hands in the air and Lauren looked like she was crying. I guess it goes to show you that celebrities really are just normal people. Number 2. Beyonce and Jay-Z. Yes, I'm about to talk about the infamous sushi fight. So in 2016, the paparazzi caught the power couple dining at a sushi park restaurant in LA. And from the photos which surfaced online, we can tell that they really got into it. It showed them having anything but a pleasant sushi date. Beyonce was yelling and waving her finger at Jay-Z while he looked like he was glued to his phone the whole time. They say that it's rude to use your phone at dinner, but even worse, he just seems like he wasn't listening to her at all. The truth is, we'll never know what started the public argument, but it wasn't the first intense fight that they've ever been in. This all took place 2 years after the bizarre elevator fight at the 2014 Met Gala between Jay-Z and Beyonce's sister Solange, when she started attacking him by punching and kicking him in an elevator, all while the bodyguards eventually had to restrain her. It was really quite funny because Beyonce was just standing there and watching it all unfold. The 3 artists did make a joint statement about the incident, which read, quote, "They both have apologized to each other and we have moved forward as a united family." And coming in at number 1, Shia LaBeouf and Mia Goth. The controversial actor Shia LaBeouf has had some seriously messed up allegations brought against him in recent years, but this fight was just so bizarre that it deserves a place on the list. The actor and his former longtime girlfriend Mia Goth, who has recently starred in the horror movie X, got into a heated altercation in Germany in 2015 that was all captured on video. The argument occurred on the streets and got so bad that a few locals had to intervene. Shia was heard shouting, quote, "I don't want to touch a woman, I don't want to hit a woman, but I'm being pushed." He then got into a random person's car and had them drive him to the airport. He later told that same person that if he had stayed there, then he would have taken her life. But they seem to have made up after the fight and even got married in 2016 in Las Vegas, only to split up 2 years later. The relationship was probably a complicated one because in 2020, People magazine reported that the pair was spotted together wearing wedding rings. Hopefully they parted for good because they seem to be extremely toxic together.
Number 10. Rose McGowan. So let's talk about the show Charmed for a second, a solid series that was on air for basically 10 years. The series followed 3 sisters that discovered they are descendants of a long line of good female witches and are destined to fight against the forces of evil. Yes, it was a very fun show, however, just because you play sisters on set does not mean that you're always going to be close in real life. Rose McGowan and Alyssa Milano had a very public altercation that resulted in a little incident on set being shared with the world. Rose claimed that Alyssa threw a fit in front of the crew, yelling, "They don't pay me enough to do this stuff," only she didn't say stuff. She called Alyssa's behavior appalling, claiming she cried every time that the show got renewed for another season because it just meant more time on a toxic set. Alyssa never shared her comments on the situation, confirming what she was being accused of. Number 9. Richard Gere. Richard Gere is one of those actors that doesn't really act. Sometimes people just get hired for films because they have a face for it or the style. For Richard, he did not have enough class and moxie to keep a handle on his role in the film Lords of the Flatbush. He was casted to star line Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone, and according to Sly, the two didn't get along at all. Their beef was strong and long-lasting throughout the entire production until it finally came to a head one day when Richard was a bit too into one scene, and he actually grabbed Sylvester pretty aggressively by the collar. When Sly told him to lay off, he laid in instead. The scene was being filmed on Coney Island, and when the actors took a minute to take a break, they tried to break each other. Sly was eating a hot dog alone in his car, which sounds pretty peaceful, and suddenly Richard stormed in, joined him with half of a chicken dripping in mustard, and despite his warnings about the mustard, seriously, it dripped all over his pants. In true Rocky fashion, he elbowed Richard in the face, threw him out of his car, and the altercation resulted in Richard being fired from the project. Oh no, they had to decide between Richard Gere and Rocky. I wonder how quick that decision was. Number 8, Selma Blair. It's funny that this entry involves Charlie Sheen getting a woman fired when he himself has been fired from so many projects because of, well, several reasons. After being fired from 2.5 Men, Sheen returned to the acting world, headlining his own show called Anger Management. It premiered in 2012 with cast featuring Hellboy alumni Selma Blair playing his colleague and friend with benefits on the show. However, Sheen's terrible behavior continued to haunt him from his 2.5 Men days. Blair was very vocal on her problems with Charlie, especially his messy work ethic. Charlie heard and he was having none of that, so he threatened to quit the show if Blair was going to remain a part of the cast. Sheen got his way and Blair was let go after starring in 54 episodes. The show didn't last long though. Who would have guessed that a messy actor being the lead was a bad idea? It got cancelled in 2014. Next up, 7, Shannen Doherty. Unfortunately for Shannen Doherty, she gained quite the reputation in Hollywood for being fired due to issues with her co-stars. She may or may not be making another appearance on this list. Who knows? Guess you'll have to stick around to find out. For the first entry, we're going to look back to the very popular series teen drama 90210, a series following the lives of the Walsh family as they moved from Minneapolis to Beverly Hills. Doherty played the character Brenda Walsh, with her character eventually befriending several students at Beverly Hills High, including Donna Martin, played by Tori Spelling. The series was a hit after its initial season, however, with increased popularity came massive egos. Doherty and Spelling started clashing on set constantly, adding additional drama to the production team that really just didn't need to be there. Considering Tori's father, Aaron Spelling, was the producer on the show, it's pretty simple to piece together what happened. Doherty claimed that she was officially let go for having a haircut that messed up the continuity of the show, but a wig could have fixed that, so better believe Tori Spelling told her papa to boot her from the series. Number 6, Edward Norton. As we all know, Edward Norton didn't last long as the Incredible Hulk in the MCU, only being in one movie in 2008. By the way, I've read some of the comments, and no, Edward Norton was not the first person to play the Hulk on screen. The honor goes to Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby from the original series, and don't you dare get me started on Eric Bana, looking like he's farting every time he turns into the Hulk. The 2008 film was a success, but not a massive box office goat. The studio were at odds and they wanted to keep using the Hulk and incorporate him into the Avengers, but Edward Norton was becoming increasingly difficult to work with. When he was contacted to keep playing the character, he demanded more money from the studio. However, he was already on thin ice following his time filming The Incredible Hulk. While not some wild on-set meltdown, Norton did make some pretty odd choices. For instance, as part of his contract, he was allowed to rewrite the script as much as he wanted, but it still needed to be approved. So he wrote new scripts over and over again until we got the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie with some of Ed's ideas baked into the final script. Kevin Feige claims that the choice to part ways with Ed was not based on money, but instead on Marvel just wishing to hire an actor that embodies the creative and collaboration side of their talented members. Essentially, he was like, Mark Ruffalo's nicer than you and he doesn't write his scripts, so bye-bye. This ended up being a great decision on both parts though, because Mark Ruffalo is fantastic as Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and Edward went on to make several high-quality films, including a few collaborations with Wes Anderson. Moonrise Kingdom would not have been the same without Edward Norton as Scoutmaster Ward. Number 5, Anne Hathaway. So a fun fact that I was unaware of until today, Anne Hathaway was almost a secondary lead in one of the most universally loved Seth Rogen movies of all time. Knocked Up from 2007 follows Seth Rogen and Katherine Heigl as they prepare for the arrival of an unplanned baby after a one-night stand. The cast was packed with stellar comedians like Paul Rudd, Jonah Hill, Leslie Mann, so many more, and the cast almost featured an up-and-coming actor at the time, Anne Hathaway. Anne is famous these days for roles in movies like Princess Diary, Interstellar, and Ocean's 8. These days, she's considered to be at the top of the A-list. In 2013, she even took home her first Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Now, before this though, she actually agreed to be in Knocked Up because she thought the script was great and that Seth Rogen, is Seth Rogen. You work with him every chance you can. However, she eventually decided not to participate in the film after one issue with the script became cause for concern. The scene in question was one of the final moments in the film, which for those of you who have seen the movie know is pretty graphic. The birthing scene seen in Knocked Up ended up being a combination of Catherine acting and some close-up clips of her cookie. Anne read that part and decided that her first role in a major comedy movie should maybe be something else. Although it was confirmed that it was not going to be her bits and bobs on display, she has a no birthday suit clause. It worked out for everyone though, because Catherine did a great job despite hating the set apparently, and Anne Hathaway is one of the biggest movie stars to date, so good for her. Number 4, Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper is one of the groundbreaking actors and directors from the 1960s and 70s New Hollywood, eventually finding his niche in the early 90s, playing villains in movies like Speed, Waterworld, and the live-action Mario Brothers movie, where he plays Bowser. Yes, that exists. No, it's not good. So it came as no surprise when he was casted to play Kristoff, the all-powerful TV producer controlling Truman Burbank's life in the movie The Truman Show. The cast was incredible and included Hollywood heavyweight Jim Carrey as the titular Truman. Anyone with a brain cell would have been excited to be a part of this film, still considered to be one of his best dramatic performances. However, 2 days into filming his scenes for Kristoff, which were only expected to take about 10 days to film, Hopper was unceremoniously let go from the set. Apparently Dennis had a contract in place with producer Scott Rudin that he would be fired should his work be unsatisfactory. He must have been pretty bad in the role, as the director Peter Weir has been described as extremely reluctant to ever remove an actor from a movie. Reports later surfaced that Hopper was basically half asleep while playing the character, and while Kristoff wasn't written to be like a manic man or anything, he did require some effort to be properly pulled off. Ultimately, Ed Harris stepped in to play the role after production had been desperately trying to replace Dennis to avoid having the film be shut down entirely. Thankfully, that never happened, and The Truman Show has gone on to be one of the most depressingly heartfelt Jim Carrey performances ever. Oh, and Ed actually got nominated for an Oscar, so sorry Dennis, looks like it was a good move. Number 3, Jean-Claude Van Damme. The Belgian actor Jean-Claude Van Damme was just on the verge of coming into his own career as the Muscles from Brussels when he landed a job opposite of Arnold Schwarzenegger in 1987's action flick Predator. This sounded like the perfect casting choice. Jean would have worked alongside the likes of Carl Weathers and Jesse Ventura. While this may have turned out cool, the reality was that Jean wasn't casted to play one of the Marines at all. Instead, he was casted to play the titular Predator himself. The special effects artists behind the project called the experience with Jean as a hilarious comedy of errors, in which no party knew exactly what the other was expecting. Apparently, nobody actually told him that the role was basically just a glorified stuntman. They were prepared to direct him to just hop around like a frog, but Jean was obviously confused and upset with that choice. According to him, he had just gotten off the boat and was under the impression that he was going to be showcasing his martial arts skills to the world, but instead he was reduced to a massive, slow-moving alien with dreadlocks. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, Van Damme was furious and dispirited about spending the entire movie cooped up in a clunky and often ridiculous-looking suit, and he was ultimately fired and replaced with Kevin Peter Hall. The idea that he was just on set being like, I can barely move in this thing, it makes me so happy. Number 2, Janet Hubert. Will Smith got his big break in the acting world thanks to the success of the sitcom Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's a show following Will as the titular prince, living with a wealthy family in Bel-Air surrounded by cousins, uncles, and of course Aunt Vivian. In season 1, Aunt Viv was played by a woman named Janet Hubert Witten, but as a lot of people know, she was recasted after an on-set feud with Will Smith went a little bit too far. According to Will, Janet viewed him as an antagonist in her life. She had been in the business for years, and suddenly Will Smith popped into her life, and she had a tinge of jealousy towards him because he got into town, got a gig. Well, hey, that's what happens when you're good. She was trying to convince the producers to give her character more screen time and allow her to breathe on camera, but they said no because it wasn't the Aunt Viv show. She fought back hard, but it was ultimately decided that she would be asked to sit out the rest of the series and was replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid, who is Aunt Viv. Number 1, Thomas Gibson. Thomas made a name for himself, starring as one of the leads of the series Criminal Minds. He was on the show for a few years, and in that time he made quite a few problems for those unfortunate enough to be staff members of the series. There were a few issues over the years that would have warranted some action, like screaming at producers and writers for not doing a good job, but the incident that got him kicked off of the show for good involved, well, a kick. In 2016, Thomas was swiftly fired from the series after an incident with a writer named Virgil Williams. An internal investigation revealed that Thomas kicked Virgil one day during production of an episode that Gibson was actually directing. And as I said, this isn't the first incident on set that really should have resulted in some kind of punishment, because 3 years earlier, in 2013, he pleaded no contest to no juice related reckless driving after being arrested under suspicion of DUI, and 3 years before that, he allegedly shoved an assistant director Ian Wolfe during a late night location scene. That led to the studio ordering Gibson to take 8 hours of anger management. According to most people on the set, Thomas was a wild card. Some days he was friendly and accommodating, and the next he went ballistic.